Hello everyone, thanks for joining me for today's Daf Yomi. Today's Daf is Bava Kamma, Daf 78 Omid B. So let's dive straight in. So just following on from last Daf, the Gemara asks, with regard to the case under discussion, but can a kosher animal become impregnated by a non-kosher animal in the first place? Is it even possible for this to occur? Why do Rabbi Yeshua and Rava have to find a biblical source to deem his offspring as non-kosher? The answer is yes, it is possible. As you maintain elsewhere in Bechorot 77a, that the mother animal became impregnated from an animal with non-cloven hooves. So what does that mean? A kalut. Sometimes an offspring of two cloven hooved animals is born with a birth defect of non-cloven hooves. This also lacks one of the two signs of a kosher animal, despite the fact that genetically it is certainly a kosher species. It was born from a kosher mother and father. This is according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, who maintains that the offspring resulting from this, which is non-cloven hooves, is not kosher. Since the animal's father is not kosher, according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, the offspring is also not kosher, and according to the Rabbi's principle, Rabbi raises a dilemma. With regard to one who says, "Is it incumbent upon me to bring a burnt offering?" Harai ala ola. With regard to one who says, "Is it incumbent upon me to bring a burnt offering?" without specifying what kind of burnt offering he intends, if it is the usual practice in that place to refer to burnt offerings simply as burnt offerings, he may bring a turtle dove or young pigeon. If the local practice is to refer specifically to a cattle burnt offering, when they mention a burnt offering, he must bring a bull. And that's from the Rama Sefer Avoda, Hilchot Masa Karbonos 16.3. And he subsequently set aside a bull for this purpose, and another person came and stole the bull. Can the thief exempt himself from liability? Rashi explains that the question here concerns only the thief's obligation to the owner. With regard to the thief's liability to the temple treasury, he is not required to pay compensation, as Gemara establishes earlier in 76a, that the phrase, "and it was stolen from the house of the man," Exodus 22:6, indicates that the payment is demanded from the thief only in that situation, not if it was stolen from the temple treasury. Others point out that if the animal is still intact, the thief is obligated to give it back to the temple to be sacrificed. Moreover, if he had eaten the animal's meat, he would have to pay the full price to the temple, and that's an arrival. By repaying the owner with a sheep, according to the opinion of the rabbis, or by repaying him with a bird to be used as a bird burnt offering, according to the or by repaying him with a bird to be used as a bird burnt offering, according to the opinion of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. This is, as we learned in the Mishnah, Menachot 107a. If one says, "It is incumbent upon me to bring a burnt offering," he must bring a bull or a sheep as a burnt offering to fulfill his vow. Elazar ben Azariah said, he may even bring a turtle dove or young pigeon as a burnt offering. Rava elaborates, what is halach in this case? Do we say that he accepted upon himself to sacrifice an animal with the state of a burnt offering? Let's explain that. Shem ola kaba ilove. According to several commentaries, Rava's question is based on the opinion of Rabbi Shimon 76a, who maintains that a sacrificial animal for which the owner bears financial responsibility to replace it with another animal. So he bears financial responsibility to replace it with another animal if the original is lost or dies, is considered the possession of its owner. Therefore, the thief has stolen the animal from its owner. And the Gemara is discussing how to calculate the owner's loss. According to the dissenting opinion of the rabbis, the thief is considered to have stolen the animal from the temple treasury, and therefore the owner's intention is irrelevant. The Rashi, Shiltei Hagiburim Bava Batra 6a. In which case, any animal that fills this requirement will suffice. If so, the thief may compensate the owner with a sheep or bird, as the owner can sacrifice the animal as a burnt offering. Or perhaps the owner can say to the thief, "I want to perform the mitzvah in the optimal manner," which is sacrificed by sacrificing a bull. Therefore, he must pay me back with a bull. After he raised the dilemma himself, subsequently resolved it. The thief can exempt himself from liability by repaying the owners with a sheep. If one said, I undertake to bring a burnt offering, and subsequently designated a bull for this purpose, and after the bull was stolen from him, he may fulfill his vow with the sheep, as indicated above the statement. This halacha is in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And the Rambam does not discuss the liability of the thief in this case, which is the primary issue addressed by Rava. It is possible that he had a different version of the Gemara. 16:7. According to the opinion of the rabbis, or by repaying him with a bird to be used as bird burnt offering, and according to the opinion of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rav Aha, son of Rav Ika, teaches halacha explicitly, without the question and answer format. Rabbi says, with regard to one who says, it is incumbent upon me to bring a burnt offering, and he subsequently set aside a bull for this purpose, and another person came and stole the bull, the thief can exempt himself from liability by repaying the owner with a sheep, according to the opinion of the rabbis, or by repaying him with a bird to be used as a bird burnt offering, according to the opinion of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. In the Mishnah, Mecharo chutz me'echami meya shebo hu shahaisa lo bo shutafos hashochet nabla b'yado hanochel v'ham akel meshalem tashlume chefel ve'ena meshalem tashlume arba'a v'chamisha. If a steal sold a stolen animal in a partial fashion, either except for 1/100th of it, let's explain that. The reference to 1/100 is not meant to be exact, while it refers to any portion of the animal at all. In the Jewish Talmud, a question is raised with regard to a thief who sells part of the stolen animal to one individual and the remainder to another. The conclusion is that if there is a part that is not sold to either party, it is considered a significant withholding, and therefore the thief is exempt from the fourfold or fivefold payment, which he kept for himself, or if he had a partnership in owning the animal. If one steals and sells an ox or sheep in which he held partial ownership, he is exempt from paying the fourfold or fivefold payment to the other partners. On the Sefer Nezikin, Hilkineva 213 to Shemishpot 350. Before stealing it, or in the case of a thief who slaughtered a stolen animal and it became non-kosher meat in his hands. If one stole an ox or sheep and it became non-kosher meat in the process of his slaughtering, or if he ripped open the animal and tore loose its gullet or windpipe, he pays a double payment but not the fourfold or fivefold payment. Rambam Sefer Nezikin, Hilkineva 28 to Shemishpot 350. Because he slaughtered it improperly, or in the case of a thief who ripped open the animal rather than slaughtering it halachically, or in the case of a thief who tore loose the gullet or windpipe of the animal as he slaughtered it, rendered the slaughter invalid. In all his cases, he pays a double payment but does not pay the fourfold or fivefold payment. The fourfold or fivefold payment applies only if the animal is entirely sold, which is slaughtered in accordance with the halachic definition of animal slaughter. The Gemara. My chutz meyachad mi meya shabo. Amarav chutz mi davar hanita imo b'shchita v'levi amar chutz mi zo zeha v'chein tanya b'mas nisa chutz mi zo zeha. What does the Mishnah mean when it states that the thief sold the animal except for 1/100th of it? Let's explain that. With regard to one who stole an animal and sold it apart from 1/100th of it, or excluding its foreleg or its hind leg, or any part of the animal that is rendered permitted for consumption through its slaughter, he is exempt from that fourfold or fivefold payment. If he sold the entire animal except for its fleece or its horns, which are not rendered permitted through its slaughter, he pays the fourfold or fivefold payment. This is according to the opinion of Rav, as well as that of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar in the second Braita. The Rosh maintains that Even if he sells the entire animal apart from its horns or fleece, he is exempt from paying the fourfold payment according to the opinion of the rabbis in the Brighton. I'm safe in the Zichan Hilch Geneva 211, Torchosh Mishpat 350. Of which part of the animal must the thief keep for himself for him to be exempt from the fourfold payment? Rav says the Mishnah means that he sold it except for some part of the animal that becomes permitted through its slaughter. This does not apply to horns or a sheep fleece, which do not require slaughter to be used in order to be used. And Levi says the Mishnah statement applies even if the thief sold the entire animal except for its fleece, and it is likewise taught in a Bright. The thief is exempt even if he sells the whole animal except for its fleece. The Gemara raises an objection to the opinion of Rav from a Brighton. If the thief sold the whole animal except for its foreleg, or except for its hind leg, or except for its horn, or except for its fleece, he does not pay the fourfold payment. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, if the thief sells the animal except for some part of it, whose absence invalidates the slaughter, he does not pay the fourfold payment. Even if the animal has a grievous wound, which renders it prohibited for consumption as a terefa, slaughtering it still has halachic ramifications, as the body of the animal would not be considered a carcass, which renders the items that touch it richly impure. Rashi explains that by contrast, if the animal is missing a vital organ and is in the process of dying, it is already considered a carcass, even if it shows signs of life. Slaughter would no longer accomplish anything, and it would not be included in the term and slaughters it. Exodus 21:37. Does not pay the fourfold payment. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi continues. But if he leaves out from the sale a part of the animal whose absence does not invalidate the slaughter, he pays the fourfold payment. If an animal is missing one of its vital organs, e.g. its liver, one of its testings, its gullet, or its windpipe, it is considered already dead, and its slaughter at this stage would be invalid. For the thief to be exempt from the fourfold payment on the grounds of an incomplete sale, he must retain one of these organs for himself. The Bible continues. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, if the thief sells the whole animal except for its horn, he does not pay the fourfold payment. If he sells the whole animal except for its fleece, he does not pay the fourfold payment. The Gemara explains the objection from this Brighter. Granted, according to the opinion of Levi, this Brighter does not present a difficulty, as his ruling is exactly that of the first Tana. But according to the opinion of Rav, it does present difficulty, as in accordance with whose opinion does his ruling accord. None of the three opinions expressed in the Brighter correlate with that of Rav. The sages say in response, Rav says his opinion in accordance with the opinion of this Tana, as is taught in another Brighter. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, if a thief sold the entire animal except for its foreleg, or except for its hind leg, he does not pay the fourfold payment. If he sold the entire animal except for its horn, or except for its fleece, he does not pay the fourfold payment. We will analyze the four opinions of the Tanaim presented in these Brighter. With regard to what principle do they disagree? The first Tana holds that when the Torah states, if a man steals an ox or sheep and slaughters it or sells it, he must pay 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. Exodus 21:37. The term and slaughters it indicates that we require him to slaughter all of it for him to incur liability to pay the fourfold payment. Likewise, the term or sells it teaches that we require him to sell all of it, not leaving any portion at all for himself, even the fleece. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi holds that the term and slaughters it is referring to parts of the animal that are affected by its slaughter, which serves to exclude parts of the animal that are not affected by its slaughter. When the Torah immediately adds the term or sells it, this indicates that selling is similar to slaughter. Consequently, if the sale excludes the animal's fleece or horns, i.e. those parts that are not affected by slaughter, there is no fourfold payment. And Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar holds, according to the first version of his opinion, that the animal's horn, which is not meant to be cut off in the animal's life, is considered a significant withholding if the thief keeps that part for himself, and he does not pay the fourfold payment. By contrast, fleece, which is meant to be cut off in the animal's life, is not considered a significant withholding if the thief keeps it for himself, and therefore he must pay the fourfold payment. And the other Tana of the school of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar holds that the animal's forelegs and hind legs, which require slaughter for them to be put to their usual use, i.e. for eating, are considered a significant withholding if the thief keeps one of them for himself, and consequently he does not pay the fourfold or fivefold payment. By contrast, his horns and his fleece, which do not require slaughter in order to be used, are not considered a significant withholding if the thief keeps them for himself. The Gemara asks, this presents difficulty, as there is a contradiction between one statement of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar and another opinion presented in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. The Gemara answers, the two rulings represent the reports of the two Tanaim, and they disagree with regard to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. And the sages taught in the Bible, one who steals an animal that is missing a limb, if one steals and sells an animal that is missing a limb, or is lame or blind, he must pay the fourfold or fivefold payment on Masefer Nezikin, 2:9 or that is lame, or that is blind, and he subsequently sold it. Similarly, one who steals an animal belonging to several partners, if one steals an animal that belongs to several partners, and subsequently slaughters or sells it, he's liable to pay the fourfold or fivefold payment on Masefer Nezikin, 2:9 and he subsequently sold it, he is liable to pay the fourfold or fivefold payment. But if several partners who stole an animal together and sell it are exempt from the fourfold or fivefold payment, but isn't it taught in another Braita to the contrary, that several partners who stole an animal together and sell it are liable to pay a fourfold or fivefold payment? Then what resolves the difficulty? Rabbi Nachman said that this is not difficult. Here, where the Braita states that he is exempt, he's referring to one partner who stole an animal from another partner. There, where the Braita states that he is liable, he is dealing with a partner who, together with other thieves, stole an animal from someone else outside that group. Rabbi raised an objection to Rabbi Nachman from another Braita. One might have thought that a partner who stole an animal from another partner and slaughtered it, and likewise partners who jointly stole. If one person steals an animal and another slaughters it, there is no fourfold or fivefold payment, unless the second person slaughtered on behalf of the thief, in which case he serves as his agent, and the thief is liable to pay the fourfold or fivefold payment, as I explained earlier in the chapter 71a. Consequently, if several thieves jointly steal an animal, and one of them slaughters it, the other who slaughters would theoretically be liable to pay the fourfold or fivefold payment only for his portion of the animal, but not for his partner's shares. Since he is not liable for a portion of the animal, he is not liable at all, as the term slaughters it, Exodus 21:37 indicates that the slaughter must be one for which the thief is entirely liable. Says Rashi, an animal and one of them slaughtered it should be liable to pay the fourfold or fivefold payment, counted as the verse state, and slaughters it, which indicates that we require liability for slaughtering all of it. And in these cases it is not so. One who steals an animal that he partly owns is not liable for slaughtering his own portion. Likewise, when several partners steal an animal, the one who slaughters it is not liable for slaughtering the portions of his fellow thieves. Although Rabbi Nachman said a different resolution of the contradiction. This is not difficult. Both Braita are speaking of partners who together stole an animal from someone else. Here, where the Braita states that the thief is liable, is referring to a partner who slaughters the animal with the knowledge and consent of another partner. If several people join together and steal an ox or a sheep, and one of them slaughters or sells the animal with the consent of the others, they all share liability to pay the fourfold or fivefold payment. If he did so without their consent, they are all exempt from the fourfold or fivefold payment, although they must still pay double payment according to the opinion of Rav Nachman. Ram Sefer Nezikin Hilchaneva 2:14, Torah Shulchan Mishpat 250. In such a case, the one slaughtering is acting as the agent of the partner as well, and is fully liable for the slaughter. There, where the Braita states that the thief is exempt, it is speaking of a partner who slaughters the animal without the knowledge of another partner in the theft. Consequently, the one slaughtering is acting solely on his own and is not liable for the slaughter of his partner's share, which is why he is exempt from any payment. Rabbi Yirmiyah raises several dilemmas. If the thief sold the animal except for 30 days, i.e. the thief reserved the right to use the animal himself for 30 days before the sale takes effect, what is halacha? If he sold it except for its work, chutz mishloshim yom chutz mimlachta. If one stole an animal and sold it, excluding the first 30 days, or excluding its work, the court does not require him to pay the fourfold or fivefold payment. Nevertheless, if the animal's prior owner sees repayment from the thief, the court does not force him to repay it. This is the Rambam's standard halachic ruling with regard to unresolved dilemmas involving monetary issues in the Gemara. The defendant is not required to pay. If the claimant seizes money from him, he may keep it. The Raiva and the Rosh, for different reasons, disagree with this opinion and rule that seizure of payment is not effective in these cases. Rather, the claimant must return the seized money. Rambam say from the Zichan Hilchot Geneva 212 to Chot Mishpat 350. He stipulated with the buyer that any work the animal performed would be for the thief's own benefit and profit. What is the halacha? If he stole a pregnant animal and sold it, except for its fetus, what is the halacha? The Gemara elaborates on this dilemma. According to the one who says that a fetus is considered a mother's thigh, a fetus is considered part of its mother's body and is rendered permitted for consumption through the slaughter of its mother. If a thief sold a stolen animal apart from its fetus, he is exempt from paying the fourfold of fivefold payment. Rambam say from Zichan, Chedus Keimama 11:12, and Sefer Kedusha Hilchot Machar Asur 5:14, Shulchan Aruch Yodea 13:2. I.e., a part of his mother. You should not raise a dilemma, as it is clear that the thief, by retaining the fetus, has withheld part of the animal. When you should raise the dilemma, it is according to the opinion of the one who says that a fetus is not considered as his mother's thigh, i.e., it has the state of an independent being. What is the halacha in this case? Do we say that since it is in fact attached to the mother, if the thief keeps the fetus for himself, it is considered a significant withholding? Or perhaps since it stands to become detached from the mother, it is not considered a significant withholding? There are those who state a different analysis of this dilemma. Since the fetus is not considered as a mother's thigh, it is not considered significant withholding, or perhaps since it needs its mother to be rendered permitted for consumption through the mother's slaughter, it is considered as though the thief has withheld a part of the mother's body. To conclude, all these dilemmas shall stand unresolved. Teiku. Bava Kamma. A dilemma: if one stole an animal, severed one of its limbs, and then sold it. If one steals an animal, severs one of its limbs, and then sells it, the court will not require him to pay the fourfold faithful payment. Nevertheless, if the animal's prior owner seizes payment from the thief, he is not forced to return it. The Raiva and the Rosh must only dispute this ruling. I'm going to say from the Zichan Hilchot Geneva 2:12 to Chot Mishpat 350. What is halacha? Do we say that the essential factor is that part of what he stole he has not sold, as the missing limb was not sold, and therefore he is exempt from the fourfold of fivefold payment? Or perhaps the essential factor is with regard to that which he sold, he has not withheld any part of himself. Once again, the Gemara states that the dilemma should stand unresolved and taken. The sage is taught in a blighter. If one stole an animal and gave it to another, and that person slaughtered it for him, or if he stole an animal and gave it to another, and that person sold it for him, the thief is liable to pay fourfold and fivefold payment, as performing these actions through an agent is equivalent to performing them by oneself. Thank you for listening, and all the best. Bye.